time, we're going to have a chance. 4 years, it's over. It's over.
You know, I think this all started when George Washington refused to become a king, right? Now, Donald Trump probably would have called him a loser.
We're 2 weeks away from choosing the next president of the United States. Both candidates are crisscrossing the country, stomping for votes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Reek.
And I'm Brittany Pieper. Donald Trump is jumping on the news of premiums for mid-range plans on the Affordable Care Act, that they'll rise 25% on average next year. Trump pummeled the president's signature domestic policy achievement during an airport rally today. He predicts more hikes are on the horizon and highlighted the fact that many buyers will only have one insurer as an option. He also ripped Hillary Clinton, saying she'll double down on Obamacare and cost consumers more.
Because Hillary Clinton wants to double up and triple up in Obamacare. The numbers will go through the roof. Your taxes will double and triple. And in the end, it's not affordable. You can't do it.
Trump says this is the final election that America will, quote, have a chance.
Clinton was in Florida today as well, but did not mention the potential hikes to the Affordable Care Act. Instead, she went on the attack against Trump's claims of a rigged system and his refusal to say if he plans to respect the outcome of the election. She also expressed concern about whether Trump understands the meaning of the president's oath of office.
You know, on January 20th, the first thing a president does is to take an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And I have serious doubts about whether Donald Trump even understands what that means.
Clinton stays in Florida tomorrow with rallies in Lake Forth and Tampa.
Both Democrats and Republicans were out today trying to sway voters. Mike Pence criticized the Democrats for not acknowledging Obamacare premiums rising. Pence repeated recent comments made by Bill Clinton on the state of health care and insurance in America to make his point. He says to disregard a stream of recent national polling showing Clinton ahead. Meanwhile, Chelsea Clinton campaigned for her mother in Wisconsin today. She encouraged people to vote early to make sure their voice is heard. Now, early voting is happening in Wisconsin, but that is not the case here. Missouri only allows for absentee ballots when it comes to voting early in elections. KOMU 8's Christina Salonikis is in the newsroom with the number of people expected to cast an absentee ballot.
According to the Pew Research Center, more than 4 million people have already voted across the country. I talked to multiple county clerks about what numbers they expect to see in mid-Missouri. The presidential election, it only comes once every 4 years, and many first-time voters can't wait to wear that sticker proudly. But more and more people are discovering a more convenient way to vote that doesn't make you leave your home.
It gives you the opportunity to look at the candidates that you want to vote for. Usually I would never go to a candidate's website, but since I had the ballot and I could think about it for a while and look at the names, I actually was able to research who I was voting for.
Absentee voting is not a new concept when deciding how to vote, but according to the Pew Research Center, an estimated 50 million people will be voting in a non-traditional way by the time every vote is counted on November 8th.
As of today, Callaway County has sent out a little under 1,000 absentee ballots, while Cole County has sent out around 2,200 ballots. Those are all set to go up until November 7th, and both counties told me they're hoping to reach and exceed the number of absentee ballots from 2012.
One expert says that Missouri doesn't allow early registration when going to the polls, but will let you fill out a ballot if necessary.
Absentee voting is in Missouri is fairly restrictive because you have to be able to prove or swear that you simply can't go to the polls on election day.
But no matter whether you are walking into a polling place or sitting at home, you should vote because
it's kind of your civic duty, your responsibility to go and as an American.
You can mail in your absentee ballot until November 2nd or go into the clerk's office and fill out the paperwork until November 7th.
Without a photo ID, Missourians might lose their right to vote. That's one of the issues facing voters at the polls in 2 weeks. KOMU 8's Jacob Kornhauser tells us people hold strong opinions on both sides of this issue.
I don't care who you don't want in office, but you better go out and protect your right to vote.
Some Missourians believe that right to vote could be put in jeopardy by Amendment 6. That's a state referendum on the November ballot, which would require a voter ID at all elections. An opponent of the amendment, Patricia Jones, says that would make everything else in an election pointless.
If voter ID is suppressed in any way, if our votes are suppressed, then the other things make no difference. Because if we're not able to vote, we're not able to change the legislator.
Voter fraud is the most common argument for the voter ID requirement. However, since 2005, more than 11 million votes were cast in general elections alone, and only 17 people were convicted of voter fraud. That's less than 2/millionths of 1%. Supporters of Amendment 6 point out that you need an ID to apply for things like Social Security. So the idea that older folks won't have the proper identification to get a voter ID is overblown. And State Representative Chuck Basie said that especially in small voting districts, even one case of voter fraud could change an election.
2010, in a Democrat primary, where an individual that is a sitting member of our body was elected by one vote, and it turned out that his aunt and uncle voted fraudulently in that election. They were both convicted.
Voters on the referendum this year won't have to show a voter ID, but if enough people vote yes at the polls on Amendment 6, they will have to the next time they take a trip to the voting booth. Jacob Kornhauser, KOMU 8 News, Jefferson City.
In just 2 weeks, voters themselves will decide whether future voters will need those IDs in upcoming elections.
Is rain heading our way? Let's send it over to Alex for a check of the forecast.
Thank you, Jim. I do think some showers and storms could be impacting the mid-Missouri area coming into tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. But right now, taking a look at current temperatures, 60 degrees for Columbia, 59 in Jefferson City, and 65 degrees down at the Lake of the Ozarks. Looking at the entire Midwest, we're staying into the 60s, and that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow as well, staying into those mid and upper 60s throughout the area. In a couple of minutes, I'll talk about the mild day we had today. Temperatures flirting with 70s, as well as those chances for rain coming up in a couple of minutes.
Alex, thank you very much. Columbia Police want to change the rules to stop racial profiling.
Plus, what $3.5 million gets the city of Columbia? That's later in the newscast.
Since the death of Michael Brown a little more than 2 years ago, race issues have been an ongoing conversation here in mid-Missouri. KOMU 8's James Bender is here in the studio to tell us how the city of Columbia wants to listen.
The nonprofit group Race Matters Friends met with City Manager Mike Mathis and Columbia Chief of Police Ken Burton to discuss what the group says is common race profiling issues in the community. The meeting at Bethel Church tonight was the first of what Mathis calls the listening tour. The tour will be a series of meetings that Mathis and Burton will attend to address racial issues in the community. Mathis says he wants to hear from everyone who has an interest in race issues. But as common as meetings and events like this have been regarding race, I dug deeper to find out some specifics.
So one of the concrete things that I think would be a big benefit is to de-emphasize stops for mechanical failures, because we found some data that indicates that those stops disproportionately target people of color in Columbia.
Burton stated in the meeting Columbia police officers will be trained to de-emphasize minor traffic stops, and as of now, police must receive a signature to search a car, not just a verbal agreement.
Walking or driving through downtown Columbia can be difficult with all the construction. Today, the Downtown Leadership Council discussed one way to try and hold developers accountable. It's considering a public inconvenience fee for businesses that close sidewalks, streets, or alleys. The DLC chair says Columbia is growing so fast, developments are clogging roadways and sidewalks and making people angry. One downtown business owner says she often hears complaints from customers.
What we do here is just general grousing from people who come in saying, I can't find a place to park, or I'm in a wheelchair, I have a stroller, I couldn't get through the sidewalks, I couldn't get over to get here.
The DLC discussed the proposed amount of the fees. It will hold a public meeting next month before returning the issue to the City Council to vote on by December. Boone County officials created a new goal for an old problem: decrease the number of inmates in Boone County Jail. The jail has a maximum capacity of 210 inmates, but often the county has more inmates than there are spots, so some are taken to other jails, including Callaway County and Randolph County. A Boone County judge says the committee in charge of fixing this issue is having a hard time finding any type of trend contributing to the number of inmates.
You think maybe sometimes the weather or the time of year, but it really doesn't seem to affect it. We haven't been able to detect any patterns and why the population goes up and down.
Carpenter also says one idea is to look closely at offenses and determine who needs to be in jail based on the offense. But there's a lot of research that would need to be done before that could become a viable solution.
The KOMU Connect fleet continues to go green. Columbia will receive 5 more electric buses and battery charging stations. There will be 5 40-foot buses from BYD. All of the buses will be painted with the current color scheme and run on Tiger lines. KOMU Connect says it's the first in Missouri to have an electric bus, and sustainability is a goal for the city.
We can run them, for 12 hours on one charge, and that's pretty significant. We're reducing greenhouse gases. There's no black smoke with these buses.
The buses will save the city 70% in maintenance costs, 50% in energy costs. The 5 buses will cost the city about $3.6 million over 12 years. Big changes at Joe Machen's. Employees tell us more than 120 workers were laid off yesterday. However, the company's marketing director, Michelle Kropp, says the number isn't true. She says 50 detailers will be transitioned to a new company, and many of those might be upset with the change. Kropp says the detailers will be given a 2-week trial period with the new company starting November 1st. She doesn't know whether or not that company can decide to keep the detailers after 2 weeks.
Losses on the scoreboard have now turned to losses on the roster.
Next in sports, 2 Tigers are done for the season.
Now from the Ford Sports Desk, KOMU 8 Sports.
Missouri football fans finally have the answer to what many were already speculating. Michael Scheer and Terry Beckner Jr.'s seasons are effectively over after tearing their ACLs this Saturday in a loss to Middle Tennessee State. Head coach Barry Odom made the announcement today and added Scheer also tore one of his MCLs. That ultimately ends the senior's season and Mizzou career. Although there is no timetable for his return, Beckner will be a junior next season and can return to the team. However, this marks his second major knee surgery in as many years. Odom says John Gibson practiced today with the team, and they'll have to find a way to fill the holes heading into the game against Kentucky.
I like our staff, and I've said it a couple weeks ago, I love this team. We're not winning, okay, yet. We're going to. I got to find a way to get it done.
The Missouri Tigers basketball team are looking for a bounce back themselves after a rough 2016 season. Through 16 practices, the players say they've already gelled better than last year's team. The Tigers are putting a higher emphasis on defense, rebounding, and the fundamentals as they lacked size a season ago. As for the starting 5, Missouri head coach Kim Anderson says he doesn't care who starts, just wants the team to be competitive.
We feel like we've got 10 guys that are competing every day. Again, I'm not sure who will start.